Well, folks, we are getting new hints that President Obama may be increasingly open to the idea of a brand new national sales tax on everything you buy. They call it a VAT, a value-added tax, and basically it would go on, I always use the example of a shoe. So the leather, the heel of the shoe, and so on, all the ingredients that go into the shoe would get taxed along the way, ultimately making the price of the shoe higher. Now, this, of course, could be problematic for the president because he insisted during the campaign that he would not raise taxes on the middle class. And the president is now refusing to rule out a European-style VAT, or value-added tax. Listen.
I know that there's been a lot of talk around town lately about the value-added tax. That is something that has worked for some countries. It's something that would be novel for the United States. And before I start saying this makes sense or that makes sense, I want to get a better picture of what our options are.
Well, Mark Levine and Steve Malzberg are both radio talk show hosts. They're my guests now. All right, Steve, so let me start with you. The president, inch by inch, it feels like the door may be opening to the value-added tax. And is that not fair, Steve?
Oh, that's more than fair. I mean, especially when Timmy Geithner says that's not the case, then that is the case. Novel idea. I mean, this is outrageous. Can you imagine the countries that the president would like to make us more like, such as Great Britain, France, Germany? They're all up around 20% in their value-added tax. People out there don't understand what they're up against here. This isn't in place of sales tax. This isn't in place of income tax. This is in addition. Can you imagine 20%, or maybe they'll start us nice with 8 or 9 and it'll rise? Additional tax on everything you purchase? Nobody voted for this. This man has run the deficit up incredibly high, and he has to do something, and this is what he's going to do.
Mark, you may be giggling, but a lot of people watching this aren't.
Well, let me tell you something. Unicorns, gulags, death panels, and now the value-added tax. Let me tell you what's most likely, the unicorns. That's far more likely. This is hilarious. I have only heard this from right-wingers. I've only heard it from Fox News, Monica Crowley, Laura Ingraham, Charles Krauthammer, now Steve. Let me tell you something. The only way we're getting a value-added tax is if Republicans take over the government. I'm willing to bet any amount of money the Democrats will not do it, and I'll tell you why. It's a sales tax. It hurts the middle class. The Democrats, you might recall, just gave a tax cut to 95% of working Americans.
Yeah, right,
it's the Republicans that want to cut taxes on the super rich.
Okay.
The Democrats will never agree to a tax that harms the middle class.
But Steve,
it's never going to happen in a million years.
Let me ask you this, Steve, because I heard the president refusing to rule it out. And then this morning on MSNBC, I heard Tim Geithner, our Treasury Secretary, who didn't explicitly rule it out either. He said the president doesn't want it, but we have to find a way of getting down this deficit, which is not an explicit denial, and it's not a promise that they're not going to do it, Steve. So are they potentially opening that door?
Of course, that's why when Mike says the only people talking about it are evil Fox News, although he didn't say evil, the implication is there. The fact of the matter is Geithner and everybody else financially involved in the administration has brought it up, and Bernanke, all of them, and none of them have even ruled it out. So what's he talking about?
Not one of them has brought it up.
Volcker
Not one of them has brought it up. No, what happened is Volcker was asked a question at the Historical Society by some woman. He wasn't even on camera, and he said, well, it's not as toxic as it once was. Volcker's not the best politician in the world. He doesn't even work for the White House. He was hired by Ronald Reagan to be his Federal Reserve chairman. Conservatives may love the idea, but I assure you it won't happen. I'll tell you what, Steve, right now, let's bet any amount of money, $100, it will not happen.
Well, I don't know what I'll have left. I don't know if you take a breath. I don't know what I'll have left from that $100 when Obama's finished with me.
It won't happen. I'll bet you right now. You don't take my bet. You know it won't happen.
Let's take a breath. Here's my question to you. First, I'll start with you, Steve, and then I'll go back to you, Mark. If we don't have a value-added tax, how is the Obama administration going to get down this deficit? Because they're coming out and saying, now that we have health care passed and so on, now we really got to tackle this deficit. And that's why all these people are saying,
well,
how are they going to do it?
I know you know, Megan, that the president could tax 100% of the so-called wealthy in this country, and that wouldn't do it. So he is going to raise taxes. He's going to break that pledge. He's already broken it because it used to say if you make $250 as an individual. Now it's $250 as a family and $200 as an individual. So pledges, schmedges. Everything he says is a crock of Barack anyway. So there is no way without raising taxes significantly or cutting, which this man doesn't know how to spell or say.
Mark?
Let me tell you the difference between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats keep their pledges. Ronald Reagan raised taxes. George Bush Sr. raised taxes. Bill Clinton gave us the highest surplus ever in American history.
What about Obama?
And then George Bush Jr. took it, and what did he do? He gave us the highest deficit in American history. There are two ways to get out of this. One is to grow the economy. We're already doing a terrific job in ending the Bush Depression, making the economy roll again. That brings a lot of revenues in. And the other way to do it is to end the Bush tax cuts that caused this massive deficit in the first place.
There's
more than enough money to do that. The only people who will raise middle-class taxes are Republicans.
All right,
Democrats
so you say right now, I got to go, but I want to ask you, Mark, you say right now categorically there will not be a value-added tax.
And I'll put money on it. And if anyone wants to challenge me, come to my website, radioinsidescoop.com. We'll draw up a contract. I'll put money on it.
All right. You heard it here first. Mark and Steve, thank you so much for your insights on it.
Thank you, Megan.